Alright guys, it's time to discuss the next installment in the X-Men franchise directed by Bryan Singer, and as we all know, people really enjoy the Bryan Singer X-Men movie. Yeah. What? Hello everybody, welcome to MaffmanJones Movie Reviews. I'm your host John Maffio, and today's featured movie is X-Men Apocalypse. Arguably the closing out in the First Class trilogy, but the 8th installment in the X-Men franchise, but it's a continuation of both timelines. It gets confusing, yes. But the story about this one is the First Class cast. They're all doing their own thing after the events of Days of Future Past, the last X-Men movie, and an old ancient mutant is awakened, Apocalypse, played by none other than the charismatic, amazing Oscar Isaac. So when he plans to destroy the world with the help of his recruited 4 horsemen, the X-Men must come together to stop him before he can destroy everything. Pretty simple premise, yes. Are there plot holes? Yes. Are there characterizations that are kind of confusing in the movie? Yes. Are there motivations that are kind of misconstrued? Yes. But there are flaws, yes. That's what I'm saying. There are flaws in every movie. But I'm telling you, I'm here to defend X-Men Apocalypse from the disastrous... I mean, it's not disastrous, but the mixed reception is kind of weird because I walked out of this movie really giddy. X-Men Apocalypse was a lot of fun. It's the most X-Men-y, cartoony installment in the franchise so far, and that's saying a lot because we've had a lot of installments of the X-Men, and it's evolved much over the past 16 years. Except for Hugh Jackman. That guy never ages. The basic plot of X-Men Apocalypse is grim, it's dark, it's tense, but there is a lot of fun and glee to be had. The colors pop, it's very vibrant in moments. There's a lot of humor that's actually pretty well utilized. The action is also a lot of fun, it's creative. You could argue that the action in third act is kind of sloppy and kind of cliched and kind of just there to be there. It's not ultimately the most groundbreaking movie in terms of action sequences, except for Quicksilver, because his scenes are really well done. I do think Evan Peters' portrayal of Quicksilver is really well realized. He brings a nice flavor of personality to this movie universe, but I'm digressing here. I think the final act does have a lot of heart, and it's emotionally satisfying. There are connections, a lot of connections, honestly, to First Class. They bring home a lot of arcs that started in First Class, so if you haven't seen First Class in a while, I suggest you watch it before you see this movie. Another thing I guess I could say is that if you're not a fan of X-Men, the universe of X-Men in general, then you might not like this movie. But I guess you could say the same thing for every comic book movie. If you're not a fan of the Marvel movies, you're not going to be a fan of Civil War. But if you're a fan of X-Men, and if you enjoyed the ride so far, I think chances are you're going to enjoy, or possibly really, really like more than you expect to, like this movie. There's too many cast members to count. If I was here talking about every cast member in this movie, I'd be here for like 5 hours. They got some really talented actors to play some of the major roles. I'm going to bang through some of them really quick, the ones I haven't mentioned already. Nightcrawler, really good. Really like his personality, and I'm excited for more from him. It's hard to compare him to Alan Cummings, because Alan Cummings was great, but I liked what we got from him. And he had like a Thriller jacket on in this movie. It's really 80s vibes. Jean Grey, played by Sansa Stark, that's not the actress's name, that's just who she plays in Game of Thrones. But, she had some of the most characterization in this whole movie. I liked her arc, and I don't think I liked her as much as the previous actress yet, but I do see where they're going with her character, and I'm excited for more. Same thing with Cyclops. I'm really a big fan of Ty Sheridan, and I think he's really good in this role for what he's given, and he doesn't really do that much, but for what they give him and his arc, I was satisfied. Storm has some kind of characterization, but whatever. Psylocke has no characterization, but Olivia Munn is smoking hot, so who cares? The best aspects of the plot and the characterization for the movie derive from Charles Xavier and Eric Lencher, played by James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. Professor X and Magneto have that relationship, that friendship, that bond that's been created since the very first X-Men movie, but for this particular set of movies since First Class, and it all feels like it pays off very well in this movie. It's partially because the actors playing these roles are so flippin' incredible, but I think their story in this movie is well told. Now for the big controversial thing, you know that guy, Oscar Isaac. Very charismatic. He was in Star Wars, Poe Dameron. Like, all the women love him now. My girlfriend swoons over him. But he plays Apocalypse in this movie. And I liked him. Could you have replaced him with other competent actors out there? Sure. But there are a couple moments, a couple scenes with Oscar Isaac playing this character under a lot of prosthetic makeup in this movie where I was impressed with his monologues, with his speeches. I think he did well with what he was given. I really liked the way he looked from a visual standpoint. I had no problems with him. I don't think he looked like a freaking Power Ranger villain. Yeah, he looked cheesy, but not... People giving a little... This is a comic book movie. And again, I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. This is the most X-Men-y movie that we've had so far in this whole franchise. And not to spoil, but the next movie takes place in the 90s. And I think this film segues very well into the next in terms of having that 90s cartoon feel. I don't know about you guys, but I say bring on the cheese. Bring on the ham, because I'm down for it with these X-Men movies. Let's spice it up a little bit. Which, by the way, speaking of that, if they make this next movie, given it makes a lot of money in the box office, and it's going to be in the 90s, if they don't use the 90s theme in some way, shape, or form, totally a missed opportunity. Very much so. And I guess when it comes to opportunities for the X-Men universe, they've done quite a lot in the past 16 years with all these movies. And if you're going to continue it, I guess it's going to be hard to top Apocalypse if in terms of stakes. But I'm sure they'll find a way to make it engaging, because the movie X-Men Apocalypse is very engaging. If you have investment in these characters, you will definitely find investment here. You will feel the emotion for the most part. It's a very fun X-Men experience. It is. And I can't lie, I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I was very engaged, and it's probably one of my favorite X-Men movies yet. If you want to talk about the most competently made as a film, this isn't up there. But I think as a successor to Days of Future Past, I think the story is going in a direction that is satisfying, and I'm looking forward to what comes next, very much so. I really enjoyed the fact that this movie kind of relished in that 90s nostalgic, cartoony vibe. X-Men Apocalypse is a busy movie. It's got a lot going on, but the story was pretty focused for the most part. The characters are well realized for the most part. The villain is pretty actually intimidating. Oscar Isaac was really good, and I think this is probably going to be one of the more entertaining movies of the X-Men franchise to watch when you have all the movies in front of you. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's a darn good Applebee's meal. How do you feel about X-Men Apocalypse? Are you siding more with the majority of critics on this one, or are you kind of like on my side, where you enjoyed it more than you expected to? It's a pleasant surprise for me. Like, I'm really, really happy I wasn't disappointed with this movie, because it could have turned out that way. That's what I expected to feel, but I wasn't. Thank God. If you enjoyed my review, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Facebook and Twitter accounts in the info box. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I'll see you guys next time.